4. Just a few highlights on this agenda this evening. It's actually a very short agenda. Most of it is consent. We have actually a long special recognition portion of the agenda with 7 items on that. So many of you are here tonight to be recognized, and we look forward to that shortly. This evening, our invocation will be led by Reynold Douglas. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Alderman Massey. Please rise.
Trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Brings us to item number 4 on the agenda this evening, setting the agenda. The board meets in executive session at 5:30 prior to each board meeting. At that particular time, there was a request to have an item removed from the consent agenda. That is item 9F, wireless transmission facility modification, T-Mobile equipment upgrade located at 8151 Poplar Avenue, Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Church. That item will be moved to the traditional agenda and will be known as item 10. Are there any other modifications or adjustments to the agenda at this time? Is there a motion to set the agenda as modified?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
The agenda has been set for this evening. Brings us to item 5 on the agenda, approval of the minutes from the October 8th meeting. In executive session, there were no adjustments to the minutes. Are there any at this time? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented to the public?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Minutes have been approved from October the 8th. That brings us to item 6 on the agenda, special recognition. As mentioned earlier, several items. The first item will be Beautification Commission Business Award. Vice Mayor Gibson.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could ask the members with Germantown Hardware to come forward, along with our Parks and Recreation Director, Ms. Pam Beasley. I would like to introduce the team from Germantown Hardware: Justin Wagner, Vicki Warren, Mike Marcatello, and Kim Krebs. Germantown Hardware was selected by the Beautification Commission to receive the October Beautification Commission Business Award. Located in the heart of Germantown at the corner of Germantown Road and Poplar Avenue, Germantown Hardware has been proudly serving the Germantown area since 2001. Owners John Wagner and Justin Wagner take pride in their reputation for excellence in customer service and cutting-edge products from trusted brands. This well-known Germantown business has earned a reputation for celebrating the seasons. They carry a large selection of seasonal, annual, and perennial bedding plants, tropicals, and hanging baskets. Currently, pumpkins, gourds, straw bales, corn stalks, and fall garden decor, all of which are in my front yard right now, decor serve to frame the exterior of the store and add to the vibrant selection of fall flowers. The well-stocked garden center with a detailed merchandise presentation, along with the maintenance and care of this Germantown business, demonstrates pride in their appearance and their commitment to helping the city look beautiful. The beautification expresses much appreciation for their efforts, and I believe also Ms. Ruth Crawford is here as well from our Beautification Commission. Again, we want to thank you for keeping Germantown beautiful and for all of your hard work. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the city and the board, we congratulate Germantown Hardware. Keep up the good work, and I'm sure they're open for a sale or two, so please visit Germantown Hardware. Item 6B on the agenda this evening, Communications Supervisor of the Year, Chief Hall.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. If I would, could I get Inspector Alan Keller to come down here and assist me? He is over our Police Services Division, and police officers like backup when they give presentations. It's my honor and privilege to recognize Don Taylor. Come on down here, Captain Don Taylor. A little bit of background. Don Taylor's been with the city of Germantown for 29 years. He started as a dispatcher jailer, and then in 1999 was promoted to lieutenant and supervisor in that unit. And then in August of 2017, he was appointed as the captain and communications director. He is a member of NENA, which is the National Emergency Number Association. He's also a member of APCO, which is the Association of Public Safety Communication Officials. He also has served as the, it would help me if I did this. Excuse me for a second. I'm wondering why I was squinting. There we go. I don't want to miss anything here. He served as the alternate terminal agency coordinator, as a liaison for the TBI, and also an incident command dispatcher. He is certified emergency number professional and has completed the Center Management Certification Program. He has served as vice chairman of the Tennessee Information Enforcement System Committee. On September 18th this year, Captain Don Taylor was recognized by the Tennessee Emergency Number Association as the State of Tennessee's Supervisor of the Year. Thank you, Mayor.
Captain Taylor, we congratulate you as well. We were expecting a speech. No speech, though. Oh, we'll be honored with a speech, Captain.
To the board, I thank you for this honor. It really belongs to the people that work with me, because without them, there would be no me. And they do a great job. They do a really great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain. That brings us to item 6C on the agenda, grants, GPAC, arts, education. Grants, Paul Chandler and Park Kennedy will make that presentation this evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. I'm joined by our Director of Development, Park Kennedy, and our Director of Programming and Education, Emily Heffley. The purpose of this agenda item is to approve the transfer of $40,000 from the City of Germantown to the Germantown Performing Arts Center. As you may recall, each year we come to you for those funds. A little history, the Germantown Arts Alliance handled this grant process to Germantown area organizations for many, many years. In January of 2016, the Arts Alliance ceased operations and transferred their grant-making efforts to the nonprofit at GPAC. We're committed to the careful stewardship of city funds. GPAC embraced the creation of an arts grant-making program, established guidelines and criteria consistent with the Tennessee Arts Commission standards, and developed an online application and created a grant awarding process. And all of that was done by these two fantastic city employees, Park Kennedy and Emily Heffley, and I'm going to hand over the rest of my presentation to these two. Excuse me.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Board of Mayor and Aldermen. It is my pleasure to announce that the GPAC Arts Education grants awarded in fiscal year 19 a total of $40,075. I will announce the grant recipients, and if there are representatives from that group here tonight, I would ask that they stand and remain standing until all grant recipients can be acknowledged. The recipients of the FY19 GPAC Arts Education grants are Farmington Footlights Booster Club, Germantown Community Club, Germantown Community Theater, Germantown High School Fine Arts Department, the Germantown Symphony Orchestra, Houston High School Theater Boosters, Houston Middle School Band Boosters, Iris Orchestra, Madonna Learning Center, Memphis Oral School for the Deaf, Poplar Pike Arts Guild, and the Riverdale Raider Theater. So, thank you. It is important to recognize that this initiative supports the Germantown Forward 2030 plan. The annual grant program supports the education strategic objective. Germantown has a reputation for lifelong learning and continuous education that meets the needs of all residents. Now, if it pleases you, myself, Emily Heffley, and Paul Chandler are available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Is there a motion to approve the transfer of funds to the Germantown Performing Arts Center in the amount of $40,000 for the purpose of issuing grants to school art programs and community art groups?
Move to approve.
It's a motion by the Vice Mayor and second by Alderman Barzizza. Any discussion or questions? Vice Mayor?
Just a comment. Park, Emily, and Paul Chandler, in 2016, you took this job, this work on from the Arts Alliance, and having served on that board and having met with you, I am so appreciative. These nonprofits that are standing here that range from really every spectrum of our community, they benefit from this grant. These grants, they are meaningful and impactful, and I want to thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
We thank the GPAC Board and Foundation for their work, and we salute all those that are standing this evening, and hopefully these grants will be very, very much worthwhile for you and your organizations. Thank you all. Brings us to item D on the agenda, Proclamation Extra Mile Day. Are there any members for the Extra Mile Foundation here this evening? If not, that's all right. We'll read the proclamation into the record. Whereas Germantown is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Germantown is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Germantown is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Germantown acknowledges the mission of the Extra Mile America to create 575 extra mile cities in America, and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2018. Now, therefore, I, Mike Palazzolo, Mayor of the City of Germantown, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2018 to be Extra Mile Day in the City of Germantown. So we salute that organization as well. I think we have a proclamation for them that will be mailed as well. That brings us to item 6E on the agenda. 6E, F, and G are all Education Commission related. Vice Mayor Gibson will handle those presentations. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. We're joined by Education Commission members Steve Chandler and Manjeet Kaur. And if I could ask Ms. Kathy Young to come forward. And I like your cheering section. Ms. Young, it is an honor for the Germantown Education Commission to present the September 2018 Teacher of the Month Award to Ms. Kathy Young, highly regarded among her peers and parents of her students as inspirational and forward-thinking. Ms. Young teaches 8th grade language arts at Riverdale School. Both students and parents anxiously await their 8th grade year at Riverdale when they can finally have Ms. Young as an instructor. She is said to have a special gift of relating to middle school students and gaining the utmost respect from them while at the same time ensuring that they are completely prepared for the writing and language arts challenges ahead in high school. During the 16 years that she has been a teacher, Ms. Young has continued her education by earning a master's in curriculum and instruction with additional endorsements for school leadership and administration. Ms. Young's commitment to Riverdale extends well beyond the classroom. Last year, she was sponsor of the school's first middle school golf team. She uses her tech know-how to analyze testing data to facilitate instructional programs within and across grade levels. She developed a website tutorial program and easy-to-use programs for teacher websites. She also serves as the school's webmaster and Schoolology campus representative. Ms. Young's can-do nature benefits the community as well. She has served in her church as a youth group leader, volunteers at soup kitchens, and actively pursues GMSD volunteer opportunities. Ms. Young, please accept our appreciation for your commitment to Germantown students and to excellence every day. Thank you so much. And now if I could have Mr. Matthew Freeman, also of Riverdale School, to come forward. It is an honor for the Germantown Education Commission to present the October 2018 Teacher of the Month Award to Mr. Matthew Freeman. Known as a teacher that has a lasting impact on students, Mr. Freeman teaches 6th grade STEM, science, and math at Riverdale School. Mr. Freeman has been inspiring a passion for science, helping students find their strengths, and serving as a wonderful male role model for 13 years. His reputation for knowing the curriculum well and understanding each child individually has earned him the respect of parents, students, and his coworkers. In addition to his classroom duties, Mr. Freeman is currently co-sponsoring an after-school math clinic for 6th graders, serves as the school-wide PLC lead team member, and participates in district-wide efforts on the adoption of STEM curriculum. When he isn't teaching, Mr. Freeman is coaching Riverdale basketball. He has served as the boys' varsity baseball coach and the boys' junior varsity head coach since 2013. His love for the outdoors, running, and sports led him to coach the Riverdale cross-country team and sponsor the intramural club. Mr. Freeman, please accept our appreciation for your commitment to Germantown students and to excellence every day. Thank you. And if I could ask Miss Isabella Frere to come forward. And that would be your family, I'm sure, beaming over there. The September 2018 Youth Excellence Award is presented to Miss Isabella Frere, a senior at St. Agnes Academy. Isabella was recognized by the Commission for her work in the classroom, her community and school activities. She has been able to maintain an impressive grade point average and was recently recognized by the National Society of High School Scholars. During her high school career, Isabella has participated as a member of the varsity soccer, track, and lacrosse teams, and was a member of the Tennessee Olympic Development Soccer Team in 2016 and 2017. All these accomplishments are impressive. Isabella's community service and clear servant leadership is why the Commission decided to recognize her with the Youth Excellence Award. Isabella's ability to balance so many commitments sets her apart from many of her peers. She finds ways to give back to her community in meaningful and important ways. She became a licensed soccer coach just so she could share her love of the game with underprivileged youth. For the past 2 summers, Isabella has hosted free soccer camps for children in the Memphis area. She organizes every aspect of the camp, including soliciting volunteers, donations, space, and equipment so that participation does not cost the family 1 penny. Isabella goes the extra mile, which is fitting that we had that proclamation earlier, accumulating community service hours through tutoring, teaching, a computer class, and again, your lifelong learning in all of your academics. In recognition of her commitment to academic excellence and service to her community, the Germantown Education Commission is proud to present Ms. Isabella Frere with the September 2018 Germantown Youth Excellence Award. Congratulations.
We want to congratulate all of the award recipients this evening. We appreciate our teachers and our student for really making a mark as well. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
And if I could say hello to Principal Bond, we thank you for supporting your teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is the time where we conclude special recognition. I always like to make the announcement, if you'd like to get up and go to dinner or go do your homework or prepare your lesson plan, you may do so at this time. And in a moment, we'll go through our next item on the agenda. Again, we salute both teachers and our student as well, and we wish you the best for the remainder of this school year. Brings us to item number 7 on the agenda this evening, Alderman Liaison Reports. We go through those, Alderman position 1 through 5. Alderman Barziza.
Thank you, Mayor. The Senior Citizens Advisory Commission met on the 23rd, and final plans were, last week, I should say. Final plans were presented for the Senior Expo, which will take place on November the 1st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at GPAC. The expo is free. All are invited to attend the event, especially seniors and baby boomers. Free health care screenings are available, and I will say that it is an incredible event. If you've never been before, I highly recommend it for all citizens. You don't have to be a senior. The Historic Commission will meet this week on October 23rd. There will be discussions in regards to the World War I remembrance on November the 11th. Also, we will be discussing the Oaklawn Garden fundraiser. Economic Development Commission will meet next week on November the 1st. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Alderman. Vice Mayor Gibson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Library Board would like to report the Friends of the Library. Their Friends Week kickoff is actually going on now, began at 5, ends at 7 today, but then it will be going on all week, where if you are a friend of the library, which it would require a $25 membership, you get half price on all of the books. So please visit your wonderful gem of a library. Beautification Commission is working with local school art students who are hand painting ornaments for the city holiday tree, which will be located just outside Chamber Doors on People Street. The tree will be decorated in time for the city holiday tree lighting ceremony, which is Friday, November 23rd at 5 o'clock here in Municipal Park. Tomorrow evening, the Neighborhood Preservation Commission will be hosting the Neighborhood Summit. The theme this year is Will You Be My Neighbor? We'll have community leaders, Joanna Young, who is one of the founders of Cop Stop, along with Dan Patterson, as well as many of the Homeowners Association leadership to talk about community service and how to stay connected within the city. That's my report, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Alderman Massey.
Mayor, the Environmental Commission did meet last week, but I don't have a report from them. For the Public Safety Education Commission, likewise, I don't have a report, but I would like to remind everyone that the Germantown Police Department will be partnering with the Drug Enforcement Administration, along with the Public Safety Education Commission, to collect any unwanted prescription drugs from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, October 27th, so that's this Saturday. Not all prescription drugs are eligible. The DEA cannot accept aerosol inhalers, liquids, needles, or sharp items. So only pills or patches will be accepted. GPD is encouraging residents to bring unwanted medication to be disposed of to Kroger at 7735 Farmington Boulevard or Walgreens at 9325 Poplar Avenue. The service is free and anonymous, so no questions will be asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Owens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Parks and Recreation Commission meets on Thursday, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Commission would like to invite everyone to attend the upcoming floral art exhibit and unveiling of the Cloy's House. We received a flyer, I think the board did tonight. It's going to be, it's a renovation and design at Oaklawn Garden on Friday and Saturday, November 2nd and 3rd. This flower house, quote unquote, a Flower House at Oaklawn Garden event is being co-sponsored by the Suburban Garden Club and the Germantown Museum Club. More information can be found on the Parks and Recreation Facebook page. And the Design Review Commission will meet tomorrow night, so I have no report on that.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Yonda.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no reports.
Thank you, Alderman. And quickly from the Mayor's office, just a few quick items. Recently, the Germantown First Responders Scholarship Fund awarded their first scholarships for the year, and those went to the daughters of Lieutenant Carl Kennan and Lieutenant Bip Cardosi of the Fire Department. Also staying along the lines of public safety and first responders, Tennessee Task Force 1 recently returned from deployment to Mexico Beach, and members of that unit at the city that were deployed and have returned are IT Director Tony Fisher, Captain Howard Jelly Thompson, Lieutenant Steve Mosby, Paramedic Firefighter Brent Baumfine, Paramedic Firefighter Wesley Jones, Firefighter Matt Cross, and our Medical Director, Dr. Joe Holly, went as well. Commission applications are now being accepted online through November 30th, so for those residents that would like to serve on our 25 or so boards and commissions, we'd welcome those applications, and that can be handled online, and it moves through the clerk's office as well. And on a fun note, this evening, and hopefully our meeting will conclude by 7, our very own Ranger Keith Peluso appears this evening on The Voice at 7 p.m. on NBC. He's a member of Team Blake Shelton. I know Pam Beasley's very excited. Apparently you have coached him up, and if he wins, you will be there to accompany him at the Grammys, correct? Yes. So that concludes from my office and also concludes Alderman liaison reports for this particular meeting. That brings us to item 8 on the agenda, citizens to be heard. We have 2 citizens that would like to come forward this evening. Let me read the guidelines for citizens to be heard. Citizens to be heard is designed to gain input from the public and not for immediate responses by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The intent of this agenda item is to provide the public a platform to be thoughtfully heard and not a forum for dialogue, discussion, or verbal exchange with the board. While the board cannot assure each speaker of a specific or individualized future response, the board will consider the public comments and any supporting material provided by the speaker. Public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per resident. Speakers are asked to refrain from using names of personnel or names of persons connected with the city, particularly when lodging a complaint. Speakers will not be permitted to engage in gossip, hearsay, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. The presiding board chair shall have sole authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to the board rules and guidelines. Both citizens have fully completed their sheet, and the first citizen to come forward would be Zoe Fleming. Ms. Fleming, if you can come forward, name or state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
Good evening. My name is Zoe Olivia Fleming. I reside at 9645 Morning Dove Cove in Germantown, Louisiana. Germantown, Tennessee. I'm sorry, I used to live in Louisiana. We've lived here for 4 years, however, so I guess it qualifies as Tennessee. And I would like to know when I can begin my speech or my comments. Am I ready?
You are currently on the record,
All right.
ma'am.
President Roosevelt stated in the past to announce that there must be no criticism of the president or that we are to stand by the president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, but it is morally treasonable to the American public. The BMA meeting requires each citizen to sign saying, "We are not allowed to criticize them." Ladies and gentlemen, my question in that response is this, and this is to the citizens. Is the BMA better than the president? Is it above the First Amendment right which is granted to every citizen? That's number one. Number two, this is in regard to a letter that has been sent out by the mayor. He says we've had no new apartments in Germantown since 1999. On October the 1st of this year, Thornwood opened 278, quote, residences. They're calling them residences. They're in fact apartments, citizens. If something walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and looks like a duck, it's a duck. In this case, residence, that's a synonym for apartment. Don't believe me, please. Go down Germantown Road. Look for yourselves. They are rental by the month apartments. They're not homes. They're not residences. They are apartments. In the Marx Brothers Duck Soup movie, Chico played a character who was caught in a lie, and he says, "Who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes?" Sometimes this is described as, "Who are you going to believe, your lying eyes or me?" The truth is, we are being deceived. We have been met with unprecedented growth in hundreds of new and/or approved apartments, which will cause the influx of tremendous number of new citizens here. We will have infrastructure expansion. Schools will and/or be maintained as overcrowded and at risk. We've already had a large loss of trees. We've had the traditional setbacks of commercial properties ignored. We will have unprecedented flooding when concrete is laid and final. Trust me, I lived in Louisiana. I saw this myself.
30 seconds.
The bottom line is we are a preeminent place. Once this character is gone, we will not return to the old days. The citizens need to be aware this election is vital to your interest, to your children, your culture. Vote as if your future depends upon it. It does. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. Appreciate your comments this evening. The next speaker will be Sarah Freeman. If you could come forward and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
Sarah Freeman, 7684 Appahon Lane. I am concerned about the integrity of the city's decision-making bodies, especially the Planning Commission and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Some citizens have been researching the sources of campaign contributions in the current mayoral race. The numbers of donors to Mayor Palazzolo's campaign who are involved in developments, building, real estate, construction, hotels, surveying, etc., and the amounts these donors are giving create an appearance of impropriety. Furthermore, these sources have not been fully disclosed. Citizens had to do their own research to discover the employers, the firms, etc., who are behind the people giving the money. Any elected official who accepts money from such entities for campaign contributions or for whatever need to make full disclosure about these financial connections. And if any city business involves these donors, then officials who accept money from such entities need to not only, again, fully disclose, but recuse themselves from voting on projects involving those donors. Pay to play is a great danger and possibility. Citizens, again, should not have to do this research. There are laws, public disclosure laws, and they exist so that we can know readily and quickly who is actually backing a particular candidate. That's the point. So some of the donors who have been very generous in this particular campaign include Mid-America Apartments, Hilton, Reeves, and a particular real estate firm. So again, voters are supposed to be able to know this easily. We have laws about this, and it's so voters can be informed. So anyone who has not fully disclosed in their forms for campaign financing needs to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. That concludes citizens to be heard for this evening. Matter of fact, before in the Alderman liaison reports, I failed to mention that there is an open house at the Village of Thornwood on November the 2nd, and that will be, November 3rd. It'll be open house to the entire community from 10 to 2. It'll be located there in the public park, close to the clock tower, and all the community is invited. As I mentioned, that concluded citizens to be heard. That takes us to the consent agenda. We'll go through the consent agenda quickly, item by item. Item 9A, contract extension, street sweeping. Item 9B, donation Germantown Community Library. Item 9C, donation Germantown Education Foundation, friend of the foundation, first quarter. Item 9D, contract addendum, employee performance management software. Item 9E, senior expo, booth equipment rental. Item 9F was removed from the consent agenda and will be heard shortly as item 10. Item 9G, right-of-way acquisition, track 10A, Forest Hill Irene Road improvements. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified?
Move to approve.
Is a motion?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
The consent agenda has been approved. We move to item 10 on the agenda, as mentioned a moment ago, formerly item 9F, wireless transmission facility modification, T-Mobile equipment upgrade, 8151 Poplar Avenue, Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Church. Mr. Ross? For the record, I'm a member of OLPH. Go ahead, Mr. Ross.
I am too.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. The item in front of you tonight is to approve a minor equipment upgrade to replace 6 antennas and associated equipment on an existing Crown Castle wireless transmission facility that is located on the property of Our Lady of Perpetual Help OLPH Catholic Church. This request is part of the zoning code 2386C3. Shared use of wireless transmission facility is permitted in the R district, but a building permit cannot be issued until the BMA has approved these modifications. The applicant, this is a Tower Ventures tower that has a lease by Crown Castle for several pieces of the antenna, and the antenna is being leased to T-Mobile. T-Mobile is changing out 6 antennas on 2 rads. The rads are the pieces of real estate on the tower. The tower itself is in the southeast section of OLPH, behind the smaller house and directly adjacent to the Solana facility. This information is within your packet, and it was also provided on the online packet. That's where I pulled this from in order to show it to you this evening. This is the existing generator area where there will be minor modifications to the equipment, but no expansion therein. On the tower itself, they will be making modifications to this area and this area for the T-Mobile towers, for the T-Mobile functions. Just to give you a little bit of background as well on other work that the city has done, since this is a basic equipment exchange and operation, bringing it up to future 5G service, we hope. The city's also been working with both the Information Technology Department as well as the Economic and Community Development Department for the last several years to improve the capacity and coverage for cellular in the city. That includes opportunities for expansion within our existing facilities on city sites, but that it also includes meetings and city tours with tower builders and providers, twice monthly calls with carriers, and a small cell modification and approval process and modification to the ordinance that will be at the Planning Commission in November. As some of you may know, the state of Tennessee made modifications along with the Federal Communications Commission to allow for small cellular devices to be improved within our right-of-ways, and so the city is actively working with providers to make sure that these modifications are in line with our ordinance. Ordinance has to be written for this, so you will start seeing this at the end of the month, pending Planning Commission approval. We continue to work with these providers because we know, emergency service providers know, residents know that this is a clear and present need for our city, and so we want to make sure that everyone knows that we are actively working on this. This one in particular will provide a better coverage based on the better technology that is being replaced. But again, this is a minor modification and a simple replacement of antennas on an existing facility. It's not an expansion of the facility. It's not a new antenna. It is a replacement of existing antennas. This does fulfill Germantown Forward 2030 strategic objective number 1 in technology. A citywide technological infrastructure supports and sustains individual, educational, government, and business demands. Happy to answer any questions. The IT director is also available if you have any questions as part of the process that we've been going along to get here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Is there a motion to approve the request allowing 6 replacement antennas and associated equipment on the existing tower for T-Mobile Wireless on the existing wireless transmission facility located at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church, Catholic Church at 8151 Poplar Avenue.
Move to approve.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Alderman Barzizza.
Thank you, Mayor. Has there ever been a study performed in this community in regards to what we need to have done in the community? I know we extended the towers 40 feet a couple of years ago. And is there a company that does a study on our unique situation of having such a heavy canopy of trees in our community?
I'll let Mr. Fisher speak to that.
So what we've done before, it was around the time that the ordinance change was made 2 years ago to extend the height of the towers and to change the fall zone. We had a study done of the coverage and capacity around the city. And then we've done one of those again recently, and we've just got those results back so that we're able to look at that and see what the impact is in all the different parts of the city on the changes that are being made.
So all of the providers are pretty much in with this study and their understanding what their needs need to be, or what we need to have from them, whether it's Verizon, T-Mobile,
sure,
AT&T.
So we are doing this independent of any of the carriers because we want it to be completely separate. We don't want any input or anything from the carriers. Okay. Obviously, we want it to be independent. But we do provide them feedback. And, of course, they have their own network studies that they do, and I think most of them are aware of where their coverage gaps are and things that they need to do. But, you know, we want that independent study so that we can give them feedback and that the bodies and boards that we have can also use those when they need to make approvals of other towers or other sales.
Well, I think it's imperative that we press hard on this because I understand there was an accident recently and cell coverage was nil. No one could get their cell phones to work, and consequently, the first responders, it was late getting the first responders to their normal 3 to 5 minutes, on the scene. So I would really ask you to with this study, worked very, very diligently and very hard to first of all make the people of our community happy in regards to cell service. Because I mean, in my neighborhood, you should hear Wanda, my wife, complain about her cell service with her phone. She's got to stay in one spot.
Sure. So as Mr. Ross mentioned, we meet with the carriers regularly. In fact, we meet bi-weekly with some of them, and so we provide that feedback very regularly, and we have let all of them know that our doors are open. We are ready to discuss any towers, any improvements, any changes, anything that can be done, and anything that we can do to partner with those carriers. We have let every one of them know for the last several years that we're willing and ready to do that. So at the end of the day, they've obviously has to come in and make that investment and make those changes, but we are certainly ready to stand with them and partner with them to do that.
Well, knowing with the type of equipment is needed for the 40-foot extension and the collapsible tower, would it make sense to have maybe some alteration to that to some degree in order to assist the providers in ensuring that they will make an investment in taking those towers up another 40 feet?
So what we're seeing is, one, they're making changes on the existing equipment. So this will be the 13th approval that this board has had on making changes to existing towers. And then secondly, what we're seeing is they're coming in with the new technology of doing small cells that Mr. Ross mentioned. So that seems to be the direction that the industry is headed, that they're going to come and put these smaller towers or these smaller cells throughout the community to augment the coverage, to get them ready for the 5G next generation of technology. And so that's where we've been working with them. We've been working with them on the designs, the aesthetics, how things will look. We worked with the state and helped provide feedback and shape the state law that went into effect back in July on the small cells. So that's the area that we've had a lot of focus in lately, because we think that's where they seem to want to put their investment, not making larger towers and changing these things that the fall zones and things.
There's one more question in regards to the study. Do you have a end game on that, or when it's going to be final, and so you could present this to the people of our community?
I hope within the next month we'll have that final and have all that data there. So I'd say in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Alderman Massey.
Mr. Fisher, I have a few questions for you. So the people that contacted me really have two different interest. One, I'm the Alderman liaison to the Environmental Commission, and the people that contacted me about those issues are concerned about the environmental impact of the 5G network on the environment and on our residents. So that's the first concern, is that what studies have been conducted on the 5G in our community, and what can we tell the residents with any degree of confidence about the impact it will have on their children and themselves, as well as any other technology that it might interfere with, because that's the questions that I'm getting from one group. The second group, of course, wants to know what the impact of this immediate change is going to be to the service before we implement the 5G. So if you could address those two, not so much for me, but for the people that are asking the questions, because I got to tell you, this is something that is well above my pay grade, so I'm going to have to rely on you to explain it.
Sure. So, I mean, obviously the city isn't doing those kind of studies. There are studies out there. I've seen them that go both ways. But at the end of the day, in terms of 5G, these small cells are what is going to bring 5G. And the state has passed the laws and the rules around, and the FCC as well. So, to many degrees, the city's hands are tied in terms of how that's going to be deployed, because we now have to follow what the FCC has mandated and what the state has mandated. So we're not going to have a whole lot of choice at this point with what goes in on that. But as for the health effects and things like that, I'll just have to point you to to research that online, and you can find both sides of that and kind of make your own decisions on that.
Well, I guess that concerns me a little bit. I was hoping you would just say, oh, there's nothing to worry about, but it sounds like we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of any impending, I can't tell you there's any impending dangers to it. I haven't seen anything that tells me, hey, this is dangerous, but a lot of it's also new, right? So I think there's probably a lot of studies yet to be done, but the carriers will certainly tell you it's safe, people tell you it's safe, but you can go online and see things in both ways.
Okay, is that the answer to give residents when they ask us? And I'm asking sincerely, because I have been asked.
Frankly, that question, I have not had that question from residents. They're mostly been concerned about the coverage in their area and making sure they have adequate cell coverage. That question has never come up.
So that leads us to the next question. We haven't implemented the entire network that's going to be necessary for the 5G. So this change that we're making on the tower, will we see an immediate improvement on reception with the change that we're making here today?
Yeah, I mean, all 13 of these that we've done, you should. A lot of these are being done because the carriers have approval to use new frequencies and additional frequencies, radio frequencies. A lot of those have better penetration into buildings or into homes. So they typically do help the coverage in those areas, and they also in some cases help the capacity as well. All these towers are significant. Many of them are probably at capacity with so many people doing so many things now on their phones. They need extra capacity in all of those, and so some of these may allow more people to get on the towers. They'll allow more bandwidth to them, more things to happen on those towers.
Okay, and who is conducting the study that you referenced earlier?
Our study is done by a company called Mosaic.
Are they a local company?
They are.
And the other question that I was asked, and I think I understand from Mr. Ross's presentation, are we actually increasing any of the heights of the towers?
In this, I want to say this particular tower at one point was increased.
It was approved to be increased, but they never went forward with the expansion. They were approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals to move up 20 feet to 120 feet, and that was prior to the city moving forward with the 140 foot. That was approximately 3 years ago, but they never moved forward with that tower expansion. They've just added or exchanged rather the antenna arrays on this tower, but it's still a camouflaged tree tower, a monopine.
Right. But the answer when we're asked, did you increase the height with this vote, the answer is no.
No, sir.
No.
There is, having gone through both approval at the Planning Commission level, as well as the Design Review Commission, a 140-foot tower at the Madonna Learning Center that is going through the construction review process now. That construction contract will come to this board at some point for approval, because under 2386 within the zoning code, under C1 for any construction of a new tower, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen also has to approve that prior to any building permit being issued. So you will see that at some point in the future. But that has been approved as a 140-foot tower at Madonna Learning Center. But that's the only new tower construction that has taken advantage of the modified ordinance from 2 years ago that Mr. Fisher referenced.
Okay, thank you both for helping me with that.
Vice Mayor Gibson.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Fisher, if you could just make a clarification. When Alderman Massey references we extending the tower or things like that, it is not the city. It is the tower, it is the carrier companies that they are making those improvements to the towers.
That's correct. The city does not own any of these towers. The city owns one tower. That's our public safety tower back in Morgan Woods Park that has no sailor on it. It's just public safety. The rest of them are owned by those private carriers. We may own the land in some of those cases and lease them, but we don't have any control over what happens on the tower. That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Please call the roll.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes. Motion carries. We've reached the conclusion of our meeting. Margaret Owens, you must go home and watch The Voice, correct? We are adjourned. That's right. Oh, you're right.